Kobe and Daddy, welcome to the office of Pitt Street Research. It's good to have you back for an interview. Of course, we've spoken a bunch of times already. Daddy, it's the first time that we're having a conversation. It's very good to have you. I think it would be good for investors, to hear from you as well. So, just to jump straight in, you signed two deals recently. One in China, one in Korea. The fact that you're now starting to talk commercially with companies and signing deals. What does that say about where you are in terms of your development and basically where you are commercially?
Well, I think we got to the point where we are now, the technology is actually in a good state, at a competitive level in terms of the technical parameters, and so there is interest now by potential customers, by partners. To be exact, with the Korean company, we didn't sign an agreement. We're cooperating right now with them to develop a module. They gave us a specification to prove to them the technology, and we're developing the specification, the module based on their specification.
Right.
With the Chinese, there is a letter of intent that we signed. It's great to move on from just the inward focused technical development to start talking to the world.
Yeah, so in looking at the work that you've done in the last couple of years, you've made tremendous progress. To what extent is the technology itself now de-risked? So in other words, between now and next year, when you're expecting to deliver the first module to the Korean company, what could go wrong? Or if anything could go wrong? Or is it just a matter of you being very precise and just following the roadmap and you'll make it?
Well, I think we've made significant progress. Last year was the year where we were dealing with the major risks. Getting to the kilobit and then the megabit array, getting the endurance levels, the retention levels. Working in higher temperatures. Those are the areas where you really have the big risk. To will it work? Will it not? Now the technology is working. What we need to do for the Korean customer is basically develop the memory module, the interface between our array and their design. And that's mostly, hard work, but not the risk level is significantly lower now.
Right. Yeah. And so, in respect to that Korean company, the shipment will be mid next year. So that's roughly said 12 months. Why the delay? What needs to happen before you can do that?
So I think that's an important question because we're always talking about our memory array. That's the key technology. But since we're talking about the embedded market, you need to take that array and embed it into a bigger, what's called a system on a chip, where there are many other components.
Right.
That interface is very unique per customer. So we're very happy now that we have a potential customer that actually gave us their specification that they're very interested in this array and our technology. So we need to develop that interface layer that will enable the design to access the array. You need to send data to be written into the memory. You need to know where in the memory to write it. There are issues of error correction or issues of, do you want to have two writes in parallel or just one, etc., etc. So this is what takes time now. And with the first customer, you're obviously doing it the first time, and there are a lot of things that you need to deal with. Once you've done it the first time, the second time, the third time go much faster.
Right.
By the time you get to, 5 or 7 or 10, we already will be developing a memory compiler that will automate it all so that with, further on, it won't require so much work. But
Right.
with the first customer, that's really getting it done the first time.
There's another important point that I think this is where the Weebit benefit of the technology development strategy comes in. We developed the technology with collaboration with Leti. When you go to this Korean or whatever customer, they have to run on their factory.
Right.
They don't run it in Leti. I think the whole methodology of using standard machinery, standard materials, nothing unique, reduce the risk of transferring this to the other factory, make it smoother. But there is some risk over here. Like you go to a friend, give you a recipe, you try it on your own kitchen.
Yeah,
there's always,
Yeah.
the tune-up. The oven is not exactly the same, but it took you 2-3 iterations and you get it right because it's not that far away.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think this is where we developed it to be very close to what other people are using in their own factories, but there's always this slight change.
Yeah.
But I think our strategy will pay off in a significant manner on this term.
And you chose to go with a so-called tier 2 player in Korea. The obvious question is, why haven't you teamed up with Samsung, for instance, if there was mutual interest? This is an example.
Yeah.
What's the logic behind going with a tier 2 player at this stage?
Well, the thing is, we're in touch with the tier ones as well, and we have ongoing meetings and communication. But as a startup, you want to start working with the ideal customer for yourself. And these big guys are most often not the right people, because they come to you with a long list of, you need to show us this, you need to prove that. They will suck up all your resources. You'll be wasting a lot of time. We don't have revenues yet, and I've seen so many startups reach bankruptcy because they tried to bite too big of a bite, right? Starting off with the big guys.
Right.
So the partner that we found in Korea is ideal because they're smaller. We can talk to them more eye to eye. They're not very small. They're one of the top 10 worldwide in their category. It's a big company, about $1 billion in size. It's not a small company, but it's a company that we can talk to, and they're hungry. They want to grow. They want to proceed.
They want it as much as you guys want.
Yeah. And so there's a much better cooperation between us
That
and
makes
them
sense.
than you would have with a big guy.
Yeah. All right. And so there's a number of alternative options in emerging technology, including ReRAM. How would you guys position yourselves versus other companies? And are these companies selling at this stage?
Well, you have several players in the ReRAM space. There are about, I would say, 4 startups that are kind of mentioned when we talk about ReRAM worldwide. Except for Weebit, the others have been around for 10 to 13 years. So Weebit is really much younger. I think we're very proud of the fact that we've managed in 3 years to develop a technology that we're now at either leading these other guys or at their level. So, we're really at the front. I'm not aware of any one of the 4 that's doing any massive sales. I mean, there's basically one of them has gotten out of the ReRAM space already.
Right.
And for their reasons, and then the other 3, I'm not aware of any sales starting yet. So we're really, the fact that we're already engaged with customers or potential customers and partners, I think we're pretty much with one of the other companies, we're at the same level. They're also reaching out to customers now.
Okay.
And then I guess the other one, we're not really hearing much news from them about technical progress, not to mention any commercial progress.
All right. Okay. And just shifting to China, what's happening there? You signed an LOI with XTX technology in China. Are you concerned about sort of IP risk? That's an obvious question that always comes back. When you work with Chinese companies.
Yes, we did. And if I said that we do not worry, we do.
Right.
That's why we think we'll be successful, because we worry. I grew up at Intel, and Andy Grove, this CEO, wrote "Only the paranoid survive." So we are paranoid. This strategy works quite well. But nevertheless, we have a lot of experience in our board. I worked a lot with China. Atik Raza, who just joined the board, have a lot of business, both when he was at AMD, but even now he built some startups that have been sold to Chinese. So the experience talks. Yeah. You know what to do, you know the people, you have the right advisors, you know how to maneuver, but it's like having a map, and you have to navigate, and you have to walk the relationship. You have to be very careful, strike the right deals. Don't oversell yourself, and protecting the IP is a big deal.
Yeah, and I guess the strength of your board right now with all that experience, because I've said it before. I think you've got a rock star board basically, and people in
you have. I've been selling in China for about 20 years already. I've been there. I've visited China many times. Worked with many of these companies. Yoav was involved in setting up an activity in China. So we really have several people here who have that experience, and we know what to be careful.
Yeah. Okay.
But, all right. It is what it is. But on the other hand, China is a huge market. You cannot ignore it. So.
Yeah. So on that point, and the last question, if you look at what's happening, the current trade war, it's sort of escalating. It seems. what do you think are the long-term implications for tech companies, given what's happening now, especially, or for companies like yourselves? You're coming out of that development stage, starting to commercialize. What's the impact for you guys?
The worry, if I look at a bad scenario, would be that there's going to be a complete split, and companies will have to build a completely different subsidiary to deal with the West and with China.
Right.
From every company, by the way, it could be a small startup like a Weebit, or could be like an Intel or whatever. It's a big overhead. You have to develop a different technology. You have to do it in a different manner. I hope it never gets to this stage, but you have to get ready that might happen.
Right.
And this is the worst case scenario. But I said only paranoid survive. You look at worst case scenario, say, what do I do so I can take action when the time comes? Currently, it's not that matter, but you have to be careful with respect to how you do that. And but it's the big politicians. They manage the world. We have to navigate our small ship into the
nimble and flexible.
Yeah, I mean, I would actually add one of the things when I'm visiting China, and I've had several trips there over the past half year, is we're Israeli. We're not American. And to a certain extent for Weebit, this has been, the Chinese look at it as a positive.
Right.
And it really helps open the doors in the discussion. And that's one of the things that with XTX, we managed to move quickly, was also the fact that they said, we can work more openly.
Right.
So that it has turned out to our advantage to a certain extent.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to hear. All right, excellent. Well, good stuff, guys. Thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for having us.
Absolutely.